Greetings, everyone. It's Taisha, and I'm back with another great video. This is my first time using my setup with my new camera, and so forgive me if I'm looking at my laptop and I forget to look at you, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here for another great video. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I can see all my comments from YouTube and also Facebook. So if this is your first time here on my channel, I hope that you got some value out of this video that will encourage you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also give me a thumbs up, also share, and also to if you want to, you can check out so many other videos on my channel. I am definitely growing in YouTube, and that is a thank you to everyone that has become a subscriber, shared my videos, and also, interacted through comments. So tonight, I'm going to talk about a video that was shared with me from a brother, and it's in regards to a traffic stop that occurred in Virginia, somewhere else within the county of Fairfax, Virginia. And just recently, I began opening up about being a police officer and my reason behind it. That video's on my channel, and also some follow-up videos. So I'll say thank you to everybody who's here tonight. For the past couple of weeks, it's been difficult to produce content as a content creator because it's hard to ignore what's happening not only in our country but also in the world at this time. So I've taken a step back from, just kind of lighthearted content, and I felt as though my purpose would not have been met unless I address the things that do plague my community. And one of those things is injustice from the police department. So being a Black woman who, worked in patrol, who was a police officer, I saw firsthand, things that weren't right. And I did speak up on these things. I talked about that in the video I did about brother Ahmaud Arbery, who was murdered in Brunswick, Georgia. I talked about my background. I got kind of deep with it, and yeah, and I feel great. I feel great. So prior to doing this video, I consulted with the ancestors and I asked for their guidance, their love, their protection. So, I feel confident proceeding forward with this video. And I hope what you gather from this is, some things that were absolutely wrong. And also, I hope to provide you with some information that will help you stay safe. I carry a Georgia driver's license. I drive across the country. So I'm not above, being the next Sandra Bland or being the next Philando Castille or being the next brother who I'm going to talk about tonight, whose name is Derrick Thompson, who was the subject of this traffic stop tonight. So I want to say greetings to everybody who's here, Solo Dolo, yo folks, Dave the Medic, Truth Seeker, and I said Dave the Medic, and everybody else who is going to join me or watch the replay. So thank you so much. So tonight is like kind of experimental because I'm using different software and things like that. So I hope to bring you better quality starting with this video right here, and hopefully everything works out. Again, thank you so much for joining. So to give you a little bit of pretense, I'm going to play a video, and I'm going to show you the video that was shared with me that got me, encouraged to do this video tonight. There was a Black man, a brother, Derrick Thompson. He was stopped by Virginia State Police along I-495 in Fairfax, Virginia on April 20th, 2019. And it was in regards to an expired state inspection. And this was shared with me because I work as a police officer in the Commonwealth of Virginia, more specifically Newport News. So one thing with the state inspections, yes, that is, probable cause to make a traffic stop. But, we're going to dig into this and really pick this apart and see what is going on. So I'm going to share my screen. And also this resulted in arrest that was videoed by Derrick Thompson, and it shows an assault alleged assault on him by Virginia State Trooper Charles Hewitt. So we're going to go through some things that came to mind. I was discussing them on the thread on YouTube. On Facebook. So chime in if you're familiar with this incident. Also chime in with your input, and we'll chop this up from there. Okay. So I'm gonna try to share my screen, and this is from his attorney's page, and his attorney is Joshua Ehrlich on Twitter. Okay, so I'm gonna play the video from there, and I'll be checking back and forth to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, so here I go. I see this. Okay, this works, and I'm gonna play this video, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to hear it on your end. If not, I'll walk you through. We'll do it that way, okay? So I see that you can see what I'm seeing. So at this point in time, we have, I'm going to pause it as I go. Oh, no, here it is. You can hear it from here. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay. I'm going to pause right here, okay? Make sure you can still see me. There we go. So I'm going to pause it right there, and I'll talk you through it. So at this point in time, Mr. Thompson, he cut on his phone camera and recorded the trooper. This is Trooper Hewitt. He at that point in time began to unlock his door and open his door to demand that he get out of the vehicle. What had happened up until this point is that the state trooper that is in the background there, I'm assuming that is the officer that made the stop, because his attorney put out a statement saying that there was a female trooper that initially made the traffic stop for the expired Virginia state inspection, and also allegedly detected the odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle. So when Mr. Thompson, he refused to exit his vehicle, that's when the trooper called for backup. And as a result, there were 3 troopers in total. It was the officer that made the stop, the trooper that's right there squatted down, and there's one on the passenger side, so there's 3. So at this point in time, we have a traffic stop for expired inspection. And then we also have the trooper that detected the odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle. So we have our probable cause, and then we have the odor of marijuana that, justifies further investigation. So at this point in time, we have a summonable offense. He can be released on a summons because it's an equipment violation for the state inspection, if that was the case, and then a detention. So I'm gonna give you some terms to look up as well. Look up Terry stop. Look up Terry v. Ohio. Okay, that is what sets the grounds for reasonable suspicion and a detention. Okay, so at this point in time, he would be detained so that the officers can further investigate the drug offense. Okay, so at this time, he is recording, but he has his hands up, and he's saying, he's fearing getting out the car, and Trooper Hewitt is there, attempting to forcibly remove him out the vehicle. You see that he still has on his seatbelt. He has his phone in one hand and he has his hand up with the other. And we're going to keep going from here. I'm sorry you won't be able to hear the verbal exchange. That's what I really want y'all to hear. But let me know if you're able to hear it. It's not looking like that's possible, but we'll continue, okay? There we go. So he just showed how many officers are surrounding him. He still has his hands up. Okay, we're gonna pause it right here to go in. So at this point in time, the officer, he has pretty much put his body in the vehicle. He has taken off Mr. Thompson's seatbelt. Okay. At this point in time, Mr. Thompson is still being passively resistant. He's not throwing blows. He's not making threats. He's not, just act what's for aggressively resisting. He's just being passive. And at this point in time, you see the trooper getting ready to put hands on his left arm. So let's see what happens. I wish you could hear this. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Try to figure this out. So here we go. This is the part right here that began to get my blood to kind of, like, oh, this is kind of, emotional. When you see the trooper, he gets in the vehicle and tries to actually gets in Mr. Thompson's face and points his finger. This is when it turns into kind of like, I am the law, and you're gonna do what I say. I'm gonna say, from my training and experience, you're dealing with citizens, and at no point in time are you to parent, or try to belittle a citizen. And the fact that he knows that he's on camera, it's kind of like he's turning it up, putting on a show for the camera. And that's why I'm really happy that like shows like Cops, Live PD, and stuff like that is off the air, because I noticed when officers, they kind of get this these guts to put on a show for the cameras. And that should not be the case. And because y'all cannot hear, thank you, Jay, for letting me know. When when they put on a show for the cameras, it's just turned up for no reason. And he knows that he's on camera. He makes statements to the camera such as, I'm going to put on a show for you folks. If I'm quoting that loosely, I'm putting on a show. Watch what happens. As you see, the trooper makes contact with the camera and knows he's being recorded, so he wants to kind of show off and show who's boss for the cameras, which is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely. And as you see, Mr. Thompson is still just being passively aggressive. Passively resisting. Excuse me for that. But in this situation, the trooper is turning this up to where it doesn't need to be. So we'll keep on going from here, and I'll probably let this play out until the end, and then I'll give some more commentary, okay? But take note of his tattoos. Take a note of that. And take note that the other troopers are wearing long sleeves and he's wearing short sleeves. Take a note of that, okay? And take note of the Oakley glasses, all right? So he's still like, the troopers say, I'm going to give you to the count of 3, and look at him, posing for the camera, posing for the camera. Then he goes ahead and puts Mr. Thompson in a chokehold and forcibly removes him out of the vehicle. And from there, he Mr. Thompson, he's pleading to get off my neck, things like that. He's voicing what is happening, although we can't see it. Now, if you watch my previous video was about how to legally carry a firearm while driving and not die. Because that prompted me to do a video about that because of our fallen brother, Philando Castille, and how his death was totally unjustified. It really was. However, we all know what happened with that. And because this month is July, and I'm thinking about our sister, Sandra Bland, the one thing that comes to mind that I absolutely couldn't stand when it came to traffic stops with certain officers, and I've noticed conversation, since, I left the police department, was this thing when it comes to Black people called attitude tickets. And I absolutely believe that this encounter with Mr. Thompson was definitely an attitude ticket or an attitude arrest, okay? And shout out to my cousin Mashika Sanders. I am wearing a shirt from her boutique. She's Bugetto.com. She is based here in Atlanta, Georgia. She made this shirt for me. It is She's Fierce, and it also has my logo on the back of it. Make sure you go to Timonics.shop and pick up your self-defense gear. So shout out to my cousin. Make sure you go ahead and put your link for ordering. She has everything from screen print shirts to lip gloss to custom fashions. go ahead and hit her up. And thank you so much to her. And getting back to the video, this attitude ticket. When I would initiate a traffic stop, my mentality was whatever I pulled this vehicle over for, that's what I'm going to write this vehicle for. And from my encounter, it will, it could lessen to a verbal warning. Whatever it may depend on the explanation from the driver, and from there. Or if I happen to find other things in the vehicle, then I would, write a summons for those things. However, and never would I go for an attitude ticket, because I hear officers say these stupid things like, well, I was pulling them over and I was going to give them a warning. Negative. Because if you mess around and get shot in the face over a warning, it's not worth it. If it's so dangerous, if you're going to put yourself and put your life on the line, for a traffic stop, your first thought should be to write a summons. You're seizing this person to write them a summons or make an arrest, not to give them a warning. If that's the case, you can just drive by the vehicle and say, warning, and that's the warning without putting your life in danger, okay? And that's what happened with our sister, Sandra Bland. I believe that the officer said that I was going to give you a warning or something like that, and then since you want to run your mouth, that's not right, and I want to speak up about that. Also, another one. So we just saw the exchange. Okay. I told you in my previous video about the types of officers to watch out for. I armed you with the knowledge on, things might go bad or have the possibility of going bad when you encounter this type of police officer. Now, this officer here, one of his tattoos was kind of like a military related tattoo. And someone had mentioned, well, no, it wasn't mentioned. His attorney is Joshua Ehrlich out of Fairfax, Virginia, and he has his law firm. He placed, a lot of articles to include a statement that he sent to, I believe, the governor of Virginia, or if not, the superintendent of the Virginia State Police. And I'm going to share that screen with you now. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to share that screen with you now. So I'm going to read it line by line if I can. And I'm sorry, I can't make this any bigger. But where are we? And thank you so much for everybody who's watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, okay? We're at page 3. I'm trying to get to page 1 of this statement. And it's not allowing me to open. Open link in new window. Let's try that. Like I said, thank you for bearing with me as I use this new software, because I am, trying to bring you better quality videos. Here we go. And let me make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing. Let me share another screen. Application window. I believe this is it. All right. And make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing so I don't go on a tangent and you're like, Tiesha, what are we looking at? Perfect. Now it's going to be a little tough to read, but I'm going to read it, so that you can see the statements of Mr. Thompson's attorney. And I did screenshot these as well, so I can go to my screenshots and read them. Okay. So he's going on from, and this is Mark Herring. This is a letter to the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia from the Ehrlich Law Firm in Arlington, Virginia, regarding the unconstitutional police violence of Derrick Thompson. So like I said, this occurred April 20th, 2019, and the facts are stated that The trooper, unnamed female trooper, alleged that Mr. Thompson's inspection sticker was expired and that she detected the odor of marijuana. She announced her intent to search his vehicle. Mr. Thompson did not consent to the search. And I stated in that, like, this is my commentary right here, once the odor of marijuana is detected, that's grounds for a reasonable suspicion. He's not under arrest. He's just, detained for further investigation for the narcotics violation. Because it's in certain places, yes, marijuana is legal on a state level, but the federal level is still illegal. But some states it's still illegal. Okay. States that approximately 10 minutes later, 2 additional state troopers arrived. Mr. Thompson requested each trooper provide their name, badge number, identification. One trooper ignored Mr. Thompson's request entirely, while another claimed he had forgotten his name and badge number. Mr. Thompson made the same request of Hewitt, indicating that he was a taxpayer and believed his request to be justified. And the trooper replied, "You pay about 40 cents of state taxes." And Hewitt, after contacting dispatch to inform this one's a little snippy, did identify himself to Thompson. Now, one thing I want to say, it is common for, citizens to remind the police that, hey, I pay your salary. And some of the remarks is like, well, the officer would say, I pay taxes too, so I'm self-employed. And even on the department that I worked for, there was one officer who admitted that when a woman that he had stopped for a traffic stop stated that, I pay your taxes, I believe what happened was he reached in his pocket, pulled out some coins, and then took his business card, his card. I think they said he licked it and put it on her forehead and was like, oh, no. I don't know. It was something like that. But when he took out the coins, it was some kind of exchange like, well, here's your refund. And he was still a police officer. He was still a police officer when I came on, so those are the exchanges that happened. And on the next page, when Mr. Thompson told Hewitt he believed his detention and the search of his vehicle to be illegal, Hewitt responded, "Brother, how do you think this is going to end? Are you ready to go through all of this today?" Just for that. There's probably not even any weed in here. Now, one thing that I pointed out when we watched the video that led up to the death of Rayshard Brooks here in Atlanta, the officers have this tendency to talk down to Black men. Hey, brother. Hey, my man. Don't do that. That's unprofessional. Like, what the hell? That's one thing that kind of gets on my nerves, because when you notice with this exchange, if you click the link that I have in the description, you can go to Joshua Ehrlich's page and listen to the video for yourself. Mr. Thompson continues to refer to Trooper Hewitt as sir. But he gets disrespected, brother, this. This is an adult. This is a grown man. This is a citizen. And this is a professional interaction. You should refer to him as such. And at this point in time, it's appearing that Mr. Thompson is confused. And one of your primary duties as a police officer is to educate the public, okay? This exchange could have occurred where, okay, as you see, Hewitt took over the conversation. The officer that initiated the stop ain't even talking. So it could have went like, okay, here's what happened. Your vehicle was stopped for an expired inspection. The officer has detected marijuana in the vehicle and educated him. According to this policy and Virginia State Code and, also case law, I can do these things. And this is what's going to happen. One thing I can't stand is when officers will stop a vehicle and treat you like you're on a freaking game show. Do you know why I stopped you? Or, keeping secrets. You can inform, the subject of your traffic stop, the reason of your stop, and the procedures be an open book. That has worked for me plenty of times, explaining, this is the process, this is what's happening. And what you want to do is put that personality into it to ease their fears, okay? if you're so heightened on this traffic stop or this encounter, it's up to you to kind of bring it down. You know what I'm saying? And based on what is happening in society at this moment, you know, it is becoming of an officer to explain to, the citizens you encounter, what is going on, to ease, this, okay, let me rush. I feel threatened. I'm going to record this for my safety because they're outnumbered. They're outnumbered, okay? Put yourself in that driver's seat. We all sit our asses in driver's seats every day, you know? So, Attorney Ehrlich goes on to put in his statement is that throughout this interaction with Hewitt, Thompson repeatedly asserted that his detention was illegal. All he had to do, all the troopers had to do was educate the driver, educate. And there's this big thing, shout out to my mentor that told me about this whole class. And I even have this book, it's in the other room, this process called verbal judo. That's a tactic used to, use psychology and, talk people into doing things that you want them to do and, just having more peaceful interaction, for lack of a better word. But what the attorney did on page 2 here, and I'm going to go to the next page so I can show you what I'm looking at. Open up in a new window. Let me find this. And I don't know why this is not loading correctly. But here we go. Let me make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, great. Very great. You're seeing what I'm seeing. Let me open this up. So Attorney Ehrlich went to the Facebook page of Trooper Hewitt. And what he did was found out that he was in a public group. And that's one thing that, attorneys do. They will go and do their research on you. And they found that Hewitt was a part of a page called Team Chepo, which is described as a racist comic and meme group. For example, on May 24th, 2020, Team Chepo posted this image of a Black man. And there's a Black man who's in the position of Kunta Kinte in the movie Roots. And I believe this is Joe Biden in the background that says, "You ain't Black." And he says, "I am Black." Let me see. The hat that he's wearing says, "Make America Great Again." And he also posted some other comics from this group that is described as having racist and misogynistic images, okay? So going on to page 3 of his attorney's statement, and give me just one moment and I will go to that next page. This is page 3 of Attorney Ehrlich's statement. And it is, this is going to get posted to YouTube, and this is going to get posted after all this. I guarantee, look at this, everybody who is going to see, I guarantee they're going to say, "You, sir, are the coolest cop in the whole nation, the most coolest, calmest, collected cop, because I ain't even trying to be here to do that to you, man." And all the comments, there's going to be 2,000 comments saying, "You, what a dumbass." That's absolutely not appropriate. And further on in the statement, as we saw, Hewitt reached through Mr. Thompson's vehicle side window, unlocked the door, opened it, and commanded that Mr. Thompson step out of the vehicle. Once again, Mr. Thompson, his detention was not lawful, and Mr. Thompson stated that Hewitt's command to step out of his vehicle was not also lawful. Hewitt then leaned into Mr. Thompson's face and yelled, "Take a look at me. I am a fucking specimen right here, buddy. You have gotten on my last nerve, all right?" Mr. Thompson, engaging in only passive resistance, stated, "I have my hands up," which we saw. "You are going to," and Hewitt responded, "You're going to get your ass whooped in front of the fucking Lord and all creation. I'm going to give you one more chance. You can bring that with you," pointing to the phone. "I'll let you film the whole thing." Mr. Thompson said, "I'm not resisting. My hands are up." Hewitt then said Mr. Thompson was now under arrest for disobeying a lawful command before yelling into Mr. Thompson's face, "I am giving you to the count of 3. 1, 2. Then Hewitt looked directly into Thompson's cell phone camera, smiled, and said, "Watch the show, folks." Hewitt lunged into the vehicle, wrapped his right arm around Mr. Thompson's neck, securing it with his left arm and forming a chokehold. Mr. Thompson yelled, "My life is in danger," as Hewitt pulled Mr. Thompson out of the vehicle by his neck while yelling, "How do you like that, motherfucker? How do you like that?" Off camera, Mr. Thompson can be heard crying out for help, shouting, "Get off me. My hands are behind my back. My hands are behind my back. I'm not resisting, sir. Sir, get off my neck. I'm not resisting. Get off my neck. You are harming me. You are harming me. You are harming me, sir. You are harming me, sir. I am being harmed. I am being harmed. I am being harmed. I am being harmed." Hewitt forcefully threw Mr. Thompson face down onto the pavement, causing cuts and abrasions to his face and left leg. Hewitt placed either his elbow or knee on Mr. Thompson's neck while he secured Mr. Thompson's arms behind his back and placed him in handcuffs. Mr. Tompkins' face bled profusely when Hewitt raised Mr. Thompson handcuffed to his feet and asked for medical assistance. Hewitt replied, "You're not even hurt." The other troopers then searched Thompson's vehicle. No evidence of any crime was found in Mr. Thompson's vehicle. Hewitt said Mr. Thompson still handcuffed in the front passenger seat of his patrol vehicle. That's common because Virginia State Trooper, their police cars don't have cages, so they sit them up in the front seat. Hewitt attempted to explain what just happened and insisted that it had nothing to do with Mr. Thompson's race. Hewitt told Mr. Thompson that his own wife is Black, which turned out to be false, and therefore he could not possibly be racist. I'm gonna take a pause right there real quick because when I was in patrol, actually when I was in the academy, our academy instructor, he stated that when he was accused of being racist, he would say that his wife was Black, and in fact she wasn't. She wasn't Black. And then I had other officers, like when I would show up somewhere, like as a backup officer, and officers were being accused of being racist. Me being a backup officer, they'll point like, "We're dating." And I'm like, I think the people see my face like, "No, we ain't. But yeah, they would use that excuse like, "Oh, my wife is Black. I can't be racist." And we all know what the truth to that, okay? Mr. Thompson, injured and upset at the events that just occurred, told Hewitt there was no way in hell a Black woman would marry him. Mr. Thompson made at least 2 additional requests for medical assistance. He was ignored. No medical assistance was provided to Mr. Thompson prior to or following his arrival at Fairfax Adult Detention Center. And there is a footnote by his attorney. Upon information and belief, Hewitt is not married to a Black woman. So I just read the statement from Attorney Ehrlich out of Arlington, Virginia, who was representing Mr. Derrick Thompson, who is alleging that he was unreasonably, unlawfully assaulted during a traffic stop in Commonwealth of Virginia along 495. Now, next thing I did after I read this, I watched the video, I read it, and I'm like, okay. In the statement, it says that no evidence of drugs was found. Okay? And there's a difference between, packaged marijuana that has not been burned and the difference between burnt marijuana. And I've come in contact with drivers plenty of times who was in possession of marijuana. And I've also come into contact with drivers who, had previously smoked in their vehicle. Okay? What you would do is explain to them like, "Hey, I smell marijuana in your vehicle. Here's the thing." And coming up on my last, years on the police department, it was in Virginia when you get, charged with possession of marijuana, they have different convictions. Your first one is a first offender where it ain't even jail time, and pretty much everybody walks on a weed ticket. You know what I'm saying? Unless you have PWID, possession with intent to distribute, then you'll, go and see the magistrate depending on, how much it is. And if there's evidence that you are a distributor. However, when it's just personal use, it's really no big deal. I mean, even if you go and apply for a job or join the military, it's like, okay, you're allowed to experiment, things like that. Like a ass whooping for, smoking some weed, is not, it's not worth it to me. It really isn't. And a lot of times when I would detect the odor of burnt marijuana in a vehicle, you just explain to the driver what's going to happen. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Well, first you have to Mirandize them, okay? You got to read them their Miranda warnings and make sure you go look up that, okay? But you let them know, like, you can kind of calm down. Look, this is what's going to happen if there's, something small in the vehicle. I'm going to detain you. I'm going to remove you from the vehicle, and I'm going to search for, evidence of narcotics usage. Whatever I find, is going to go into evidence for destruction, but you will get a weed ticket. And, depending on how it happens in court, you may not even get convicted. Because I have had a traffic stop. I'm going to tell you about this. I was on midnight shift and I had a traffic stop where I detected the odor of marijuana coming from a vehicle. I had 2 occupants. It was a driver and a passenger. What they did was, prior to me making contact with them, the baggie of marijuana was placed in the glove box. So once I removed both occupants out of the vehicle and I found the weed in the glove box, once it went to court, the assistant Commonwealth attorney said, we're going to throw it out because we can't prove whose weed it was, because both occupants, said they did not want to speak to me. So what happened was I charged both of them. And when it got to court, the assistant Commonwealth attorney said, I'm not prosecuting, and he threw it out. So both walked, the weed got destroyed. That happens, so you explain to the driver what's going to happen. And you have to do it legally, and you respect people, okay? You respect them. Like I said, I've got my ass kicked, and you still have to, render aid and treat the arrestee with respect. So what I did next, and I'm going to go to another screen, share my screen with you. I went to Virginia court because Virginia court and the court documents are public. So let me share this screen with you. Share my screen. And thank you everybody who is here watching. I really appreciate you. Share this screen. Okay, so I wanted to find out. Okay, so it's obvious that Mr. Thompson was taken into custody and taken before the magistrate. Okay, and if you don't know what the magistrate process is, after someone is placed under arrest, you go and take that person to the magistrate, and the magistrate determines if you have probable cause to make that arrest. And in turn, the magistrate would either, issue a warrant, and you go ahead and commit that person to jail, or they would issue a magistrate summons where they will, just pretty much sign and promise to appear in court, and then they walk out the door with you. Okay, so what I did was I went to Virginia court system, and I'm going to expand this screen. Okay, so I went to case status and information, and I went to General District Court because General District Court handles traffic and criminal offenses. So I went to case information. And then from there, you got to verify that you're not a bot. And then you select the court. I selected Fairfax County. That's where this was made, Fairfax County, Virginia. And we get this screen, and I'm going to go to a name search because we know the name of the offender, okay? And I'm not calling him that, I'm just saying of the driver. Let's say the driver, okay? His last name was Thompson. First name is Derrick with 2 R's. And we're going to search. And here's what comes up. Let me go back here so I can expand my screen so you can see this a little bit more clearly. Okay. With a common name, you're going to get plenty of names. So you can disregard these 2 cases for a Derrick Miller. But it doesn't matter because we're not going to criminalize the victim, okay? We're not going to do that. My purpose of going to the Virginia court is to see what Mr. Thompson was charged with that day in question, which was April 20th, 2019. And the only case record that's coming up for 2019 for Mr. Derrick T. Miller was this one right here, obstruct without force. And that's one thing that, okay, let me go to my regular screens. I got to talk to y'all for this, okay? I got to talk to y'all for this. Okay, so what you didn't hear because my video did not have sound, I figured it out by the next video, is that Trooper Hewitt got in his face and said, "You're under arrest for disobeying a lawful order." That was the first click. Like, he's got to be prior military. And because of the tattoos and stuff, he's got to have served time overseas. Because that's something that people with a little bit of rank in the military like to throw around because I say so. This is a lawful order. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. All of my veterans who are watching, let me know how often you have heard that, okay? And because they're so used to having subordinates underneath them that have to, obey what they say, or they're going to send you for punishment under that general order for disobeying a lawful order. And a lot of times the crap be unlawful in the first place. It's just they have so much intimidation on their subordinates, they don't stand up and go toe to toe with them. So that was one thing I know. So like, gotta be military. And so from there, I'm like, okay, it's that old you're under arrest for you're under arrest for resisting arrest, but you are never under arrest in the first place. That's the issue I'm seeing nowadays, and it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of hand to our people that we have in high places. This is a problem that's faced with our community. And what a lot of like these rogue cops are playing on is your ignorance of the law. And yeah, that's the one thing I really, really can't stand. So I'm gonna go back and split my screen. There we go. And so I click on this one, obstruct, resist without force. Okay. We're gonna click on that. So I verified that this is our driver in question, Mr. Thompson, and I verified that the complainant. So if you can put my name in here, you'll see my name pop up with a bunch of summonses that I wrote as a police officer, and also summonses that I got while I lived in Virginia. Okay, it's all on here. So it states that the offense occurred April 20th, and the first hearing was in May. It was continued. And then the second one was June, and it was also continued. And then a bench warrant was issued. And then 8/23, it was finalized where Mr. Thompson had entered a guilty verdict. Okay. And then we get down here, he was ordered to pay a fine. But, and I don't bring this up to shame Mr. Thompson or nothing. I don't, because I don't know what is happening. I can only speculate. But I bring this up to show you that it appears that Mr. Thompson was only issued, and also too, when he was brought before the magistrate, he was released on his own recognizance. So the magistrate had faith that he would show up in court, and he walked right out with the officer. He walked out, so he wasn't held on a bond or without bond or nothing. He walked right out the court, right out the magistrate's office. But it said that he was stopped for an expired inspection and alleged narcotics violation. He's not cited or arrested for any of those. So was it that his vehicle was inspected? He did have a valid state inspection on there? Because I'm not seeing a summons. I'm not seeing a summons at all. Even if it was thrown out, it would still appear. And I'm not seeing it at all. So this leads me to believe that this whole use of force and this whole encounter and everything that came after it was fruits of the poisonous tree. And I'll give you another term to go look up. Fruits of the poisonous tree. Make sure you look that up, okay? Because he was not charged for what gave them probable cause to make contact with him anyway. And in no way, shape, or form am I an attorney or a paid attorney spokesperson. You know, it's been a while since I've been out the game, but, you know, I just want to let you know that this don't sound right, okay? It don't sound right at all. And the next one was passive resistance. Passive resistance. Now, I was reading on one report that Trooper Hewitt became a Virginia State Trooper in 2011. And prior to that, he was in the military and served time overseas. That would explain like the tattoos. But why I want to explain the demeanor. And the one thing that comes to mind that I actually had absolute no clue about this movie, Full Metal Jacket. Let me know if y'all seen that movie. I'm pretty sure you have. If not, I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere and watch it. Full Metal Jacket. And you can watch this one clip of the drill sergeant Glock dude when he makes contact with the recruits and he just in their face. He's belittling them. He's making threats. He assaulted one dude and, you know, choked him out. And that is like that's what drill sergeants and people who are in these instructor positions try to be. And I actually found out about Full Metal Jacket in the police academy. I had no clue about the movie until the police academy. And I watched it, yeah. And Trooper Hewitt's behavior reminds you of the drill sergeant dude. You know, how he's in people's face and want to show off and be cock diesel, got the Oakleys on. I mentioned that in my previous video. And his behavior was totally rogue, totally out of, I'm pretty sure it's out of policy, because if anything happens to him, it will come from policy violations within Virginia State Police, if anything else. And yeah, I'm like, wow, this is those personas that these rogue officers take on to think that, you know, I'm the law and I say so and get away with stuff like that. But when it comes to passive resistance, I became a police officer in 2008, and it says that Hewitt came on in 2011. Now, Virginia State Police, their academy, they go live at that joker for 6 months. You know, I couldn't do that. I had to come home every day and on the weekends. But they go and live up there, and their training is a lot more intense than what I had went through on the C level. It's still, you know, the foundation, the basic curriculum, but they do a little more than, you know, what us in the city do, such as like they get real detail with accident reconstruction, stuff like that. But I say that because all of us receive some type of riot training. And why I bring up riot training is because that's where you're taught how to approach and effect an arrest on those who are passively resisting. As you saw in the video, and I'm going to bring up the video again so I can explain this real quick. It's in a separate tab. Go to the video. Take you back to the video. And once again, thank you to everybody who is here watching, who is live. I really appreciate you. I know it's a tough video to watch. We're going to go, instead of posing in the camera and doing all that, I'm going to leave it here and make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, so we were trained on how to remove somebody who's being passive out of a vehicle. You have one of two choices, really, okay? One is, you know, if someone refuses to sign a summons or something like that, what I was trained to do is, okay, I have your information. What I'm going to do is go to the magistrate and get a magistrate summons. I'm going to write out my probable cause statement, and let's say if this was just for the expired inspection, yeah, I'm going to just go get a magistrate summons and I'll make contact with you. And this time you don't have to sign it. You don't have to agree. I just hand them a summons. That's it. It's a magistrate summons for you to appear in court at this date and time. That's all you have to do. You don't have to, you must sign this, No, you avoid all that. You go get a magistrate summons and just hand it to them and go about your business. And if they don't show up in court, guess what happens? A bench warrant is issued or they are found guilty in their absence. That's what happens. The next one, like I said, when it comes to riot training, okay, Mr. Thompson, he had this hand with a phone in it. He was just being passively aggressive. And this hand was free. In police training, we were taught about pressure points. Okay. How many people have, hit their funny bone or, somebody like hit you right here and it made you like jump out of your seat? That's what pressure point training is about. He had this hand. All he had to do was just, apply the department approved techniques and gain, kind of pain compliance. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it's not like, okay, you're gonna take and break your arm. No, it's just hitting those applying pressure to those pressure points and removing someone from the vehicle. You could talk as you're going, but there was no justification getting in his face, yelling, showing out for the camera, disrespecting him, then put him in a headlock like that. No policy justifies a headlock at all. You don't. And I really want justice for Mr. Thompson because this went way beyond where it was supposed to go. And this is why we have, and I can speak for our community, for my people, for my Black people. Me as a Black woman, I am afraid to, encounter a police on a traffic stop or just period. I've had situations when I called 911 when I lived in Hawaii and the officers coming to my house and on that bullshit. If I come back here again, somebody's getting arrested, you can get the fuck out. And when they called me the next day and said, hey, we've got to get this signed, I said, don't call me ever again. You're not welcome back here. And if I need help again, I'll call a crackhead. I definitely said, and I hung up the phone. I never called Honolulu PD ever again because this kind of behavior and this stuff right here, not only is it disrespectful, it's unprofessional, but it's also illegal. And we have no room to tolerate this at all. This is absolutely terrible. There's no room for this, especially stuff like this. And I told y'all about, judging these type of officers. As you see, in Virginia, with the Virginia state troopers, when I don't know if it changed. Like I didn't work for VSP. I just encountered them a lot. When they wear long sleeves, they wear a tie. And I think that all of them wear the same uniform at the same time. So you saw the two other officers, they had on long sleeves, but this one has on short sleeve to show off his tattoo and to be cock diesel and wanting to, show this driver who's boss by his statements, his action, and, is just terrible. So from there, I'm going to take a break for a moment, and look at some comments because it just really gets me way up there because this is not acceptable. This is why, you get this type of reaction when you pull over, especially Black people. We keep seeing videos of stuff like this of our rights being violated, being belittled and disrespected for no reason. Well, I won't say no reason, but for really no reason. Expired state inspection that you didn't even write them a summons for. You get all this. Then we get to the point where, okay, force was used. Force was used to remove this driver from his vehicle. I'm pretty sure somewhere in policy you're supposed to take a photograph of any of his injuries, but also if he requests medical assistance, you call it. You let them refuse a medic. You let them get transported. It's not coming out of your paycheck. And you're getting paid. If you have to take them to the hospital, you're getting paid for being there. Also, too, said that when he got to the jail, that he requested medical attention there. I've seen times where for certain injuries, the jail nurse will come and, you know, render first aid for somebody, like you have like something going on. But many times, like now, well, this was before COVID, but the nurses are like, if they see anything of a fight or a tussle or anything that can lead to, you know, some kind of investigation, the jail will refuse that person and they got to go to the hospital first. So your best bet to avoid, you know, getting rejected at the jail, because that's why you always ask one, is everything okay? Do you need a medic? You know, and then also too, there should be some kind of policy where force was used, a supervisor should come out, photographs taken, medics called. So like I said, if anything, these three will, you know, be in violation of BSP policy, but they should also, you know, be held accountable for this assault and not, you know, intervening and stopping this, because there was other ways to get him out of the vehicle. Also, too, you have the officer over there on the other side. You know, oh, goodness, what is this other thing for y'all to look up? Look up plain view. Plain view, and that's another thing that assists officers on traffic stops. You know, and that's one thing I use a lot when you're making contact with the driver. You can look around, you know, because they're in public. And if you can see through the windows and you see any kind of contraband or something like that, yeah. But this officer actually had the door open, you know, and they still did not find evidence of narcotics use. I don't get it. This is really terrible. And then another thing someone had brought up with Mr. Thompson was that why did he wait so long to, you know, get an attorney and stuff like that? That leads me back to the obstruction without force charge. It appears, and I'm just saying it appears, I'm not his attorney spokesperson, I know any details. It appears what happened was Mr. Thompson, I'm thinking he probably defended himself, because let me go back to that court form. It looks like he may have represented himself, and they want me to log back in again. Let me fix this. Let me share my screen, because that's one thing I forgot to mention. Virginia court case information, and we're going to log in from there. Okay, except I'm not a bot. We're going to go to Fairfax County. There we go, Fairfax County. And we're going to do a name search. Thompson. Okay, so we have this one right here, the obstruct, resist without force. And that's one thing I tell y'all about, resisting arrest without being under arrest. That's the stuff that gets on my nerves. So, does it say attorney in here? Yeah, right here, defense attorney. Mr. Thompson did not have a defense attorney. So I'm guessing that he, you know, chose to represent himself, or he was requesting more time to hire an attorney. And I know when it comes to, you know, criminal defense, a lot of assistant district attorneys, I want to say only Commonwealth, but they go to private practice, and that's where, you know, the income is. So it costs a pretty penny to, you know, retain a criminal defense attorney. So I'm pretty sure he was, you know, looking for, you know, time to, you know, hire an attorney and stuff like that. And what I'm thinking probably why this went so long, okay, he pled guilty and he took his fine. The one thing that, well, I'm not sure if he has applied for an appeal to appeal this decision or, you know, stuff like that, but that could be a reason why this has carried out for so long, because of the lack of funds. And also with the highlight, you know, I don't want to say like it's a positive thing, but with, you know, incidents like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and Rayshard Brooks and George Floyd, this is when he was able to find an attorney who would take on his case pro bono. and, see to get him some kind of relief for the damages that he's claiming. So that's probably why it took a while for this to come out. Or he probably, just was able to afford an attorney to represent him. But that leads me to this break here. And I'm going to read some comments. I was going to say, thank everybody for being here. This is a tough video to make, as you see. I know I sweated through my shirt. Like I said, this is tough. Stuff like this is really tough because you want to produce justice, and I'm not coming from a high and mighty and holy place. I've had to use force when it came to affecting arrests and things like that. The thing of it is, you want to always, be within policy. You want to respect that other person, and what you're getting into. You know what profession you signed up for. So it's not up to you to take that out on the public every day. Like, you chose it. If it's not right for you, you need to go do something else. And there's also those who you work with or work for need to hold you accountable. If you see someone who is like really wilding out, you need to go ahead and speak up about that. And it needs to be, measurements in place. But that's a whole nother thing, okay? Brother Jason said that I had a situation in Mississippi while driving to Texas on I-10 where I was pulled over, and the first thing the cop asked me was, where was the drugs? Thank you for bringing that up, because where Mr. Thompson was pulled over was on 495, and I'm not exactly sure where, but when you hear I-95, when you watch cop shows and things like that, if they're in Florida, Virginia, New York, wherever, it's always on 95. And 95 just puts in state troopers' head like narcotics highway. I-95 runs from the southern tip of Florida all the way up to the Canadian border in Maine. So they look at I-95 as a major narcotics vein. And this type of behavior, like, everybody's carrying drugs. If you're not driving an RV with a family in there, there's drugs. So that type of approach, like, yes, there is narcotics moving around, but every driver is not guilty of moving drugs. And there's a group that I'm in where they talk about, everybody is military, and they talk about having out-of-state tags and driving somewhere, and law enforcement being hard on them and pressuring them, even violating their constitutional rights because of either having out-of-state tags or whatever, which is absolutely terrible. And that needs to be, exposed. And I'm proud of everyone who is finding the courage to speak up about the injustice that happens to them when they encounter law enforcement. This is a problem. It really is. It's a big, big, big problem. So thank you, Brother Jason, for sharing that. And thank you, everybody, for the super chats. I really, really appreciate you. Me too. Me and my boy just maintained our composure throughout the ordeal, and I guess my disabled veterans ID helped as well. Let me think. One thing that's here in Georgia, my first and last day of the police academy, our instructors had showed us this video of this traffic stop that took place here in Georgia on I-16. And it was a deputy. I forget his last name. I think it's like Dinkheimer. I'm probably mispronouncing the last name, but it's available here on YouTube. What happened was, he was stopping a vehicle, and the vehicle, like a red pickup truck that had like Vietnam veteran sticker on it. And what eventually happened was, the driver got out of the vehicle. It was a white male driver, kept getting out of the vehicle. Then when he finally emerged that last time, like, he said he was going there to get his gun. He went there and got his rifle. He loaded up his rifle, and he shot the trooper to death. But he was unable to keep going back and forth in his vehicle. And they showed us that. And toward the end, I noticed that it had I was torn, because here I am, a veteran, but I never put like proud Navy veteran or, any of those stickers on my car, because I was thinking that maybe that will cause officers, like if they're showing this to us the first and last day of the academy, you know, who else is watching this? And I don't want to be approached as if I am, you know, loading up a rifle and getting ready to do what that, you know, offender did to Deputy Dinkheimer. I'm like, why did y'all show me that? Like, I thought that put like a really bad bias on veterans, and not all of us, you know, do that. Not all of us are, you know, and as you see, there's many types of veterans that's throughout our everyday life. You just can't paint, you know, anybody with just a broad brush. And I encountered Virginia state troopers when I lived in Virginia. They pulled me over right on 564. You can just find that ticket in the court records. They pulled me over for a window tint. And that was an emotional experience. Here I am in uniform on the side of the highway getting pulled over, you know? It was crazy. So we have moving right along. Can you please zoom? I'm sorry, I don't know how to zoom. I'm gonna figure that out. I promise. Okay. You know, I'm upgrading my YouTube. I'm trying to, invest in my channel. Thanks to everybody in their support. And here we go. So we need to. I provided the video on how to respond and to give you kind of like, you know, leverage or the upper hand when on a traffic stop and you happen to be armed, so that we don't have any more Philando Castilles happen. Also, we'll catch the rest of this when I go to work tonight. Thank you so much. Where are we at? But yeah, these rogue officers do what they want to do and act outside of policy, act outside of the law, and all that. It has to stop. As you saw what happened with our sister Breonna Taylor, she still does not have justice. Also too, with and I'm sorry, I'm getting like a brain dump, but we have to demand justice. We have to produce justice. And that sends me to these great books that I have behind me. There was an attorney I had met in Virginia because, you know, as I was saying, you never know what side of the law you're going to be on. Just because I wore a costume to work, you know, I was too black for the blue and I was too blue for the brothers or the family. But, you know what I'm saying? You never know which side of the law you're going to be on. So I would talk with attorneys a lot. And there was one attorney, he had gave me this pamphlet back in the day. I have no clue where it is. But he broke it down how to react when you encounter police. He had like one side of it was if you're on a traffic stop or, you know, things like that. And one of the questions, like the first thing you do is you ask, am I being arrested or detained? And the officer should answer that appropriately and professionally. And then from there, you invoke your rights to not speak, not to make any statements, and to request the presence of an attorney. And then and it's kind of tough because what we see, you know, people murder for following the law in 4G, in HD. You know, we see that, and it's like, okay, is there a such thing as justice? Will we get a fair chance? So that takes me to this book right here. I've been talking about it a lot. It's the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a compensatory counter-racist code by Neely Fuller Jr. And he breaks down how to respond in certain situations. He specifically lists 9 of them. Well, let's see if I can remember all of them. And economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and warfare. I'm getting better. There we go. And I put bookmark in area 5, which is law. And he talks about, you know, interactions with police officers and things like that. And I'm not going to give away his entire book, but he was saying that pretty much what our goal is to produce justice. And justice is ensuring that no one person is being mistreated at any time, and the person that needs the most constructive help, who needs help the most, receives the most constructive help. And he states, two basic goals of correct law enforcement, which is one, to produce justice and to eliminate injustice. That's pretty much what it is. And really quick, he states on page 151, it was a question, what are the duties of a correct law enforcement officer? And the answer is, the basic duty of a correct law enforcement officer is to have correct intentions, okay? The second one, the basic duty of a law enforcement officer who has the correct intentions is to use every law or act in such a manner as to help produce justice, balance between people. The basic duty of a law enforcement officer who uses law in such a manner as to help produce justice is to guarantee that no person is mistreated and to guarantee that the person who needs the most help gets the most constructive help. And no, do not apply the word police to any person who is brutal. Do not apply the word police to any person who is a racist white supremacist or a racist suspected white supremacist. Do not apply the word police to any person who enforces any law in such a manner that justice, which is balance between people, is not the result. Instead, use the term law enforcement officer to any person who is said to be directly or indirectly assigned to enforce the law, including any law that is in effect, correct or incorrect. Every person in the known universe acts as a law enforcement officer because every person at all times is enforcing some form of law. And I'm not going to go any further. I have a link so you can order this book as well as the Compensatory Counter Racist Codified Word Guide is in the description. And so by the code, I had no right to, define myself as a police officer because people were still being mistreated, and at the time, either unknowingly or out of fear, I allowed it to happen, just like everybody else does. And there has to be a conscious effort to produce justice and to do what is right and to stop illegal acts and people from being violated. And at that time of this encounter, Mr. Thompson, he needed help the most, and he did not get the most constructive help. So we will use the blanket term law enforcement officer, and that's just what it is. This is a wonderful book. It is a life changer, and I will recommend some other books as I get them, and I will share them. I will update the links and comments in this video. But what I want to leave you with is, if you listen to Mr. Fuller and his videos, what he states is, during a traffic stop or an encounter with law enforcement officers is, don't fuss, don't fight, and don't flee. There was someone earlier who suggested, at that time, Mr. Thompson possibly could have had an option or could have, requested a supervisor or someone who was higher up in the chain of command. And I'm pretty sure he probably would have thought that, law enforcement officer Hewitt was one, and I highly suggest, like in this situation, and I'm doing a little bit of what they term Monday morning quarterbacking. Okay, you stop me for inspiring inspection. Okay, and I detect the odor of marijuana come from your vehicle. Okay, exit the vehicle. At that point, there was one trooper. He kind of did the right thing, like, hey, can you request other officers to come or something like that? And I've had that happen as well. It's kind of like automatic when you detect some kind of other violation, you just request another unit and, whatever. But, and then also too, if it was a female that stopped him, when you detain someone, you give them a pat down for any type of weapon. I've had, I would say, more men have requested that I pat them down and search them or anything like that, like search incident to arrest than anything. But me as a female officer, I requested someone else to be there because you don't want to have somebody enter the vehicle by yourself. It's a safety issue, but also too, I don't want to complain that, I violate your person in any way. But yes, about the vehicle, you can search. not they don't need consent at that time, but you know they had reasonable suspicion to get in there, search, and it appears as though his inspection wasn't even expired because he did not get a summons for it. Okay, then there, you know, he could have taken what happened to an attorney for, you know, a Fourth Amendment violation, you know? So, you know, I totally understand this climate of being in fear, then, you know, the blatant violation of, you know, constitutional rights that we see and violation of policies that we see, things like that, is it's understandable that someone will be hiding. It's totally understandable. So I can't Monday morning quarterback it. I hope that, you know, his attorney and Mr. Thompson are able to, you know, produce the justice that they're seeking. And if you or I happen to, you know, be the next person on a traffic stop, that it does not go down this road at all. But I'm proud of, you know, those who are getting the courage to speak out about these things, because these things are not right, and there needs to be justice and penalties for doing these things to citizens. Like, citizens should not be walking around, you know, fearing that the next red light violation is going to end their life. It's not right. So that's pretty much all that I have to say about this. When I saw it, I'm like, something ain't right. So hopefully, you know, his attorney finds out more through, you know, motion of discovery, stuff like that. And also the superintendent of Virginia State Police, you know, acts accordingly, and we see what happens. But, you know, I just want all of us to be safe. I just wanted to, you know, enlighten you with this information. Use it as you see fit, but also, you know, use your highest form of discretion and, you know, stay safe. Thank you to everybody who came to watch this video. I know it's late. I think I went off about, what, an hour and a half? Yeah, hour, 15 minutes. So thank you so much. Stay safe, but also too, you know, we have to pick these things apart in the most constructive way so that we can produce justice. And we shouldn't be walking around in fear, you know, like this. It's not right. And that's it. So if you like this video, I encourage you to subscribe. If you're watching me on Facebook, go ahead and like this page, share, leave a comment. Check out the description for links and other things like that. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for, you know, supporting this channel just with your presence, your likes, your comments, and your shares. Also with your financial support. I greatly appreciate you. Like, you just don't know, like, what you're doing for me, you know, to give me a chance to, you know, just be more and more transparent about things, and this helps me heal from some stuff. So I hope that I'm being constructive for you and providing you value on this channel. I will be here again for another vehicle. I mean, not vehicle. I'll be here again for our next video. If I'm live, I'll make sure I give you plenty of notice. And then I also have some other videos that I am uploading. I've been supporting a lot of small businesses, Black-owned businesses, such as She's Bugetto out of Atlanta, Georgia. That's where my shirt comes from. Also, to Cold Black hair care products out of Texas. That's what I use on my braids. It's been doing great. I'm approaching my 3-year mark of, you know, my natural hair journey. Also, make sure you head over to tiemindless.shop and, you know, search my personal defense store and follow me and connect with me on my other social media platforms. If you have any questions that you couldn't put here, go ahead and email me at info@TieeshaEssex.com or Tiesha.Essex@gmail, and I will get back with you. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.